done. Joe, give us the word. All right. This time I'll call to order the regular meeting of the Genoa Township Board of Trustees. It is September 2nd, 2021. The time is 6:30 p.m. A full and accurate account of this meeting's audio recording can be found at www.genoatwp.com. Present today, roll call.
Mr. Gephardt.
Here.
Ms. Vaughn.
Here.
Ms. Goodman. Here.
We have all trustees are present. Also present, we have Donna Batten, our fiscal office. Steve Gamble is not here, but in his place is Deputy Chief Shabali, Bob Matthews, Director of Roads, Buildings and Grounds, Joe Ponzi, Fire Chief, Joe Schaefer, Director of Development and Zoning, and Paul Wise, our Township Administrator. We also have Doug Sams from the Delaware County Health Department with us on a regular basis, and thanks for coming out. All right, this time, Doug, I'm going to ask you to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, if you would.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, folks, thank you all for coming out tonight on such a beautiful early fall evening. We are going to try to move along quickly tonight. I think there is a little activity going on up in Minnesota that we need to be paying attention to. So, but we have some very important business to take care of. At this time, I will turn the meeting over to Chief Shabali.
Good evening, trustees. At this time, I'd respectfully request a resolution to hire Brandon R. Blackwater as a full-time police officer effective September 5th of 2021. Mr. Blackwater successfully completed all portions of our hiring process to include truth verification testing, background check, psychological exam, and medical exams. Mr. Blackwater currently works as a trooper for the Ohio State Highway Patrol, Marion Post, and has 3.5 years experience there. Based on that experience, I would recommend hiring him at the B-step rate of $32.11 per hour, as allowed in Section 14.2 of the Collective Bargaining Agreement. We have done that in the past when hiring officers with prior experience.
Okay, very good. This time I will move to hire Brandon Blackwater as a full-time police officer effective September 5th, 2021 at the B-step rate of $32.11 per hour per the collective bargaining agreement. Is there a second?
Second.
Made and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Gephardt.
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn. Yes. Ms. Goodman.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Go ahead and do the swearing in.
Over here, Carl? Okay.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States. I will support the Constitution and laws of the State of Ohio. And will faithfully discharge the duties of police officer in Genoa Township. Delaware County. State of Ohio. During my continuance in office. Very good. Welcome aboard.
At this time, Brandon's wife's going to come up and pin his badge on. Brandon's married, has 2 young sons, as you can see back there. He's from the Mount Gilead area.
Very good.
And I'm their professional photographer.
This is usually one of the most dangerous parts of your job, is getting your pin put on, yes.
You want to introduce who you have here, Brandon, with you? Yeah, it's fine. Go ahead.
All right, so I have my wife, Megan, our two little boys, as you've already heard one of them, it's Jet, he's 2. We have a 4-month-old Brooks who is there. My wife's aunt, Julie, and I believe Jet's little cousin's here. He's in the car, with the car on, I'm sure.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm very excited to be here.
very good.
Nothing but great things that I've heard about Genoa Township, and I'm just excited to work and take care of everyone.
Very good.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome
you.
aboard. Thank you.
All right, since we have so many kids, we've got lots of cake back at the police department. You can go back and enjoy it.
We'll give them a couple minutes to. Okay. At this time, we have a special recognition, and I'll call on Fire Chief Joe Ponzi.
Thank you, Jesse. Front and center, please. All right. Sure. So we're here to recognize Jesse Crook and to present him with a Distinguished Life-Saving Award. On July 18th, 2021, Genoa Township firefighter paramedic Jesse Crook responded with the Delaware Tactical Unit as a medic assigned to the team. The incident was basically a standoff barricade situation in which a young man was distraught, and the team was trying to resolve the situation. Without going into a lot of details, the young man ultimately shot himself in the neck with a shotgun. Jesse was one of the first to render aid to the young man and continue to provide care during transport to a trauma center. His actions, along with another tactical paramedic, kept this young man alive so he could go into emergency surgery. Unfortunately, after a few days, it was determined that the male would not recover from his injuries, and the family decided to donate the unaffected organs to those in need. This was Jesse's first call out with the Delaware Tactical Unit. His quick actions and proficient skills had a direct result in the young man making it into surgery, which eventually allowed for at least the latest update that I know of is 17 life-changing organ transplants to happen. The amount of phone calls and emails I received regarding, Jesse's actions that day are a testament to his dedication and abilities to not only Genoa Township, but all of Delaware County. In recognition of his efforts and commitment, I would like to present him with the Distinguished Life Saving Award.
Yeah, I got everybody here. So we'll start with my father-in-law Dan is here, my mother Julie, my son Landon there, my brother Kevin, my father Lonnie. I have my aunt-in-law Amy, her daughter Addie, my grandmother-in-law Alice, and my wife back there, Ashley, our daughter Blair, mother-in-law Tammy, and daughter Riley. Oh, I'm sorry, and uncle-in-law Troy. That's it. That's it. Yes. So,
Very good.
thank you. I really appreciate this. Thank you guys for the support with being on the team and giving me the opportunity to represent the township in that capacity. And thank you to my family for showing up and the extra hours that it requires me being gone. So, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Folks are welcome to stay for probably what will be a very exciting meeting, but totally understand if you choose not to. Thanks for coming. Yeah. Next time.
Otherwise, there's plenty of cake back at the police department.
Thanks for coming out, folks. All right, at this time, turn to Donna Batten for a fiscal office report.
Okay, first item on the fiscal officer's report are the August 5th regular trustee meeting minutes.
I will move to approve the August 5th, 2021 regular trustee meeting minutes. Second,
Second.
discussion, roll call.
Roll call, Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes.
Mr. Gephardt?
Yes, motion carries.
Okay, next item up for the fiscal office report are the July 31st, 2021 bank reconciliation. We end the month at $2,122,404.57. Current balances sit in our primary is, $3,577,047.41. Our Fifth Third investment is at $17,538,530.52. And our Star investments are at $2,253,469.18. I'll have these for your signature at the end of the meeting.
All right, very good.
Okay, moving on to our 2020 amounts and rates. The Budget Commission for Delaware County has met and they released our estimates for the 2020, and I ask that you accept those now.
All right, I will move to accept the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes.
Mr. Gephardt?
Yes, motion carries.
And our fourth and final item would be to schedule the 2021 Records Commission meeting. Normally, this is handled before a trustee meeting. We meet about a half an hour prior. The commission consists of the board of, the chair for the Board of Trustees, the fiscal officer, myself, and Mr. Wise, Township Administrator. Our next meeting would be October the 7th. I have confirmed with Pat that 6 o'clock, if that works for everybody else, works for the fiscal office as well.
All right,
Sound good?
fine with me.
Okay, so the Records Commission meeting will be scheduled for October the 7th at 6 p.m. And I will work with the rest of the departments to get any other changes, corrections, deletions, and get them to you guys out in advance.
Okay, very good.
That's everything for the fiscal office.
All right, thank you, and I just want to thank Donna for sitting in tonight. It is it is Pat Myers' anniversary.
32 years.
32 years, so
Yes.
he asked to have the night off, and we granted it to him. So, but it's always good having you here.
Thank you.
Okay, trustee comments.
I don't have any.
One this evening.
Okay.
I had been invited Monday evening to speak with Boy Scout Troop 84. They have a requirement for an advancement badge. That means that they invite someone, an elected official, to talk to them about the election process, what it's like to be in a political role, et cetera. And we had a great discussion. We talked for about 45 minutes. They had wonderful questions, and I had a great time with them. I'm hoping that maybe we'll get a future leader out of there. Who knows? Maybe a Genoa Township trustee. They also said, one of the young men said that he had listened to our audio to fulfill his communication badge. And so if any of you are listening tonight to fulfill that badge, good evening and good luck. So that's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Just two quick comments. One, we're getting into that time of year, and I think it has been more of a policy and a recommendation of the township from a campaigning standpoint during political campaigning during township events. We have tried to encourage candidates not to be blatantly campaigning during those events, give our residents, our families an opportunity to enjoy the activity, and you want to campaign elsewhere and other times, that's fine. Again, it's not a law, it's just a recommendation this time of year. The other one, and it ties in a little bit, actually reminded me when Joe did the recognition of Jesse. I heard on TV the other night there was a young man who died as a result of some hazing up in Bowling Green College, and I think there were 100 and some people who took advantage or were provided organs from that young man, from his family. And I was saying, Jesse, there were about 17 or so, and you know, organ donors, donations are becoming more and more popular, but it is something you have to do and encourage to put on your license. So I would just encourage people to consider that and to be thankful for those that do provide that service so others can live. Other than that, I have nothing else. Public comment. Anyone here from the public? Very good. Administration. Paul.
Thank you. With us this evening with an update from one of our township's parks, facilities is Preservation Parks. Their director, Tom Curtin, is here, and I asked that Tom come up to the podium. He has a brief PowerPoint to talk about what's going on with Preservation Parks. So go ahead.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to provide the update. And next slide. All right, so as you can see, our parks are spread out throughout the county. We've opened up a couple of new parks, and I'll talk about that as we get into the slideshow. I do want to talk quickly about where it says Future Park in the upper right-hand corner of the map. Just found out within the last 2 weeks that that park is going to be coming online within a couple of years. We have a life estate there, and the gentleman has decided to vacate that property, so that'll be our first park up in Porter Township. And looking forward to that. So we can head to the next slide. Last year during the pandemic, we saw a 60% increase in visitation. Fortunately, we were there for everybody. Did put a strain on staff. However, we never really skipped a beat. The only thing we really did was we adjusted our maintenance schedule so that we could keep staff on until about 8 o'clock at night so we can continue to sanitize facilities for them. And now attendance has dropped back down to pre-pandemic levels. So we're breathing a sigh of relief from that standpoint, but I'm glad that we could be there for the folks last year. Next slide. We just completed a purchase of 235 acres down in Orange Township. It was a 6-year acquisition and includes the county's Bicentennial Barn. It's located along Bell Canyon Road and Orange Road. And we can go to the next slide. The Bicentennial Barn, of course, is an iconic feature in this county, and we're in the process now of working with an architectural firm to determine the costs for renovating the barn and turning it into a year-round facility that we can use for programming and that citizens in the county will be able to rent and use for a variety of social activities. So we're master planning the park now, planning out where we're going to do parking and that. The yellow dashed line coming north to south through the picture there, excuse me, there is a bike trail that Orange Township will be building, and we'll be tying into that, and of course offering our usual amenities, picnic shelters and hiking trails and nature education programs. Next slide. We also were able to do some stream restoration work at this property. We worked again with the Orange Township trustees to basically rehab a tributary to Alum Creek, reestablish floodplain, planting native plants in there to improve water quality. So looking forward to, again, opening up this park and offering it for the folks to enjoy. Next slide. This is an exciting land acquisition project that we just started on this year. We're working on acquiring 475 acres outside of Sunbury as you go north on Route 3 there. It's sandwiched, it actually straddles Old 3C adjacent to Route 3 there. This is a 6-year acquisition window. However, we are going to be on the ballot in November with a land acquisition levy. And if that passes, we'll be able to condense that to a 4-year acquisition and get that property open sooner. Go to the next slide. One of the unique features about this park is a creek that runs through the property. It's got some really high-quality natural areas associated with it. There's a lot of agricultural land associated with it, too, that we'll be doing habitat restoration on. The other unique thing is that there's a lot of cultural history here, including a one-room schoolhouse, which is on the next slide. The Perfect Schoolhouse, named after the Perfect family that owned this property originally. Back in 1893, that schoolhouse was built. The original owners of the property, Walt and Kathy Sandel, have been rehabbing it over the years, and we will continue that rehab construction. And again, looking forward to opening up that property sooner than later. Okay, next slide. Working on a new park south of the city of Delaware along Pollock Road, Hickory Woods Park, and this is an artist rendering. We're currently working on phase 2. The pond is in, sledding hill is in, beginning to work on the trails, parking lot access drive is in. The building you see there will probably be a phase 3 or phase 4, but it will be a year-round facility, again, that we'll be able to use for programming, and citizens will be able to rent for social activities. Next slide. We also acquired 21 acres on Lewis Center Road, right across from Sharmar Ridge Park. And it's immediately adjacent to the Ohio-Erie Trail that parallels Route 3 there. And we are going to use this 21 acres as a trailhead for the Ohio-Erie Trail. And we're going to offer trailside camping for individuals who are biking the Ohio-Erie Trail. So that'll be a nice amenity, something that we haven't done in the past. And the interesting thing about the Ohio-Erie Trail, not only does it serve Delaware County and the state, but it's going to be part of the National Rail Trail that's going to go from Washington, D.C. to Seattle, Washington. So folks bicycling that will come right through Delaware County on our section of the Ohio-Erie Trail. Next slide. We also opened up Sycamore Run Park. That's near the intersection of Route 315 and Home Road. That property was donated to us by the developer who worked on the trails and development there on the west side of 315. And this provides canoe and kayak and fishing access to the Olentangy River. Next slide. Gallant Farm has been busy. We've made some improvements to the farmhouse there, and we also built, shouldn't say we, our farm manager, Gabe Ross, built that corn crib using hand tools. It's a 1930 era's farm, so we stick to the 1930 era's tools as we work on it. And we've been adding more pasture land. We added a cow and a calf this year, along with our sheep and pigs, so we're slowly adding livestock to the farm. Next slide. And the Ohio-Erie Trail. We were able to build 2.5 miles of it last year. We're building another 1.4 miles this year, and that will take us down to Hartford Road, just outside of the village of Sunbury. And next year, we're going to build another 1,500 feet or so from Hartford Road across Big Walnut Creek on the railroad trestle to Walnut Road there in the village, and we'll finally be connected to the village of Sunbury. And so a lot of work on the Ohio-Erie Trail. Had a lot of help from Rick Carfagna as far as getting funds through the capital improvement program through the state budget, and of course the Clean Ohio grants have helped immensely too in that. Next slide. So this just gives you an idea of what we've done. The red dotted lines you see in the upper right-hand corner there, that's actually in Licking County, and Licking and Knox County have teamed up, and they're going to build that section of trail next year. The green is what we've built already. The red dotted line is what we're, at the lower left there is what we're building this year, and then you can see a little notation for 2022 construction. So looking forward to connecting to Licking and Knox County and completing our section here in the county as well. Next slide. Our construction crew built an aviary last year at Deer Haven Park. And we have the Amy Clark Vader Bird Sanctuary at Deer Haven, and so this was a great addition to our birding programs. We've been working with an organization called Ohio Nature Education. They rehab birds of prey that have been injured. Some of those birds can't be released, and so they use them for educational purposes, and now we are too. They rotate the birds in and out every 3 or 4 months. And currently, we have a batch of falcons with us. So we want to stop by and visit with those birds. Next slide. Do a lot of habitat restoration. As we acquire property that was at one time agricultural field, we come in, we plant tens of thousands of trees. We plant a lot of native prairie plants and meadow plants. And we also remove a lot of agricultural tile so that we can reestablish the hydrology of the area. Next slide. We also do a lot of wetland creation. Unfortunately, a lot of the wetlands in the county have disappeared, so that is a very important part of our work as far as habitat restoration and providing places for wildlife. And these areas, of course, are also used for public programming. Next slide. Did a lot of virtual programming last year, including the Winter 100. This was the first time we did a program like this where people could sign up to walk either 100 miles or 100 kilometers. Had 1,400 people participate, and they did it for the love of stickers, because once you completed your 100 miles or kilometers, yes, you got a sticker. So it's amazing what people will do for a sticker. We also did Winter Letterbox. We have worked with the libraries during the summer on Letterbox Adventure for, gosh, over a decade. It's been very well received, so we had several hundred people participate in that. And then last year, we did a Discovered Delaware County scavenger hunt, where we incorporated all the townships in the park in the district, in the county, in the Park District's program. Next slide. And we also rolled out a new logo last year, the fox leaf logo. We wanted to have something that really set us apart in the county and that was colorful and easy to identify us with, and that logo has been very well received. And so looking forward to fully implementing that by putting that on our park entrance signs this year. Go to the next slide. One thing we found out during the pandemic was that our parking lots are too small. And so we've begun to expand parking lots, working with Charmar Ridge in particular. That has been expanded. We've also done some expansion on our outdoor facilities at the farm, putting overhangs over the front and back door to the granary so we could increase our outdoor programming space. And this is what the signs will look like once the new logo is on them, and this is the new sign for Sycamore Run Park that I spoke about earlier. Next slide. And that's the end. I was told to hurry because there's something on at 8 o'clock tonight. And so I wanted to keep it short and sweet. I did mention the levy. It's been interesting in the last year and a half. Several families have approached us and they want their property to become part of preservation parks. About 800 acres approximately. At 475 acres I talked about earlier north of Sunbury, it's about 1,200 acres then. Looking at the acquisition of all that property, it's a $24 million proposition. About another 10.5 to 13 million to develop it. And so the board decided to put a new levy on the ballot in November, 4/10 of a mil. It's about $13.92 per $100,000 of valuation. 10-year levy, and that will enable us to acquire all that property and then develop it into new parks. So thank you for the time to share what we've been up to. Any questions?
Tom, thank you. I appreciate giving us a new idea for employee compensation. Stickers.
Stickers.
Yeah, stickers. Make a note of that, Paul. Go ahead, any questions for Tom?
No?
Do you have a timeline on when you're going to make improvements to the addition to Charmar, since that's in Genoa Township?
Yeah, that's probably, we're going to master plan it. Well, we've begun to conceptualize plans for it, but we'll master plan it next year, and hopefully 2023.
Okay,
We'll be able to put in the camping.
very good.
Tom, yeah, I have not been on the trail north of Sunbury, but there's obviously, or I shouldn't say obvious, there is a way, I mean, is there currently using roads or streets up in that area before the trail is actually completed?
Yeah, you can get to the trail sections that have been completed by roads.
Yeah.
Next year, Actually, when we complete it this year down to Hartford Road, it's going to make it much easier to get from Sunbury then to Hartford Road and then up to the county line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're also going to be master planning the trail house area in Sunbury, which is on Vernon Street in Columbus there. And so we hope that will be a parking area and trailhead in the future for the Ohio to Erie Trail.
Very good.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate the work you're doing.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks. Okay, Paul?
Next up, we just turned the calendar over. It's now September. I would like to propose to the board that we go through in October, after I know we have several departments that are having budgetary retreats internal with their own staff. A lot of the young supervisors want to learn the new budgeting system, so I'm recommending or suggesting at least that maybe we do a series of daytime meetings in October and hammer out our appropriations for 2022 that way, if your schedules would be appropriate. But we could talk about dates further down the line, but that's just to give you a game plan, what we should do. But I know there's, both of you probably have the supervisory retreats with your appropriations being discussed, so I think that'll happen probably in September, won't it?
Ours is actually scheduled for October, but I'm not sure on the exact date at this point, but I can certainly get it to you.
Okay.
We're not that fancy to have a retreat. We just meet in the training room.
Yeah, that's what, I'm glamorizing the term, but, yeah. Okay, just,
No, that
we'll
sounds-
schedule some dates in
That's something we've
October.
done in the past. I think it's
Yes.
good. Yep. All right.
And then secondly, on my agenda, we went ahead and found some off of the state purchasing program, a couple vendors for totes, for our EPA grant for the recycling containers. There was one that was obviously cheaper than the other. So Best Equipment gave us a proposal for the cans. They're proposing a 64-gallon unit for $53.87 per unit. So I figured that to fit our grant, to fit it in our grant, we would be able to buy 1,317 units. And the EPA, the total amount of this is close to $75,000. So the EPA's grant is $60,000. And the township would fund out of the general fund $15,000 and then take a unit charge, offer them to the public for $10 a unit to recuperate the cost. So there'll be a little shortage in that. It'd be about $1,800. But, if the board wants to have the residents fund the entire amount out of the themselves, it would be $11.39 instead of the $10. So I was just trying to make the accounting easy for people, and it's easy to remember and market if it's an even amount, $10 or so. So it's your call on that. We could either charge the actual amount for the $15,000 or $10. So I was going to ask for your lead.
Okay, but the amount is $74,000.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'll go ahead and move to approve a purchase order to Best Equipment Company Incorporated in the amount of $74,961.79 for recycling totes. And I'll go ahead and amend or include in that we charge Genoa Township residents a $10 fee for that tote. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
I just have a question on this. As I read through it, it talked about warranties, and it said that it does have a 12-year warranty.
Yes.
If there's a claim on that, does it come through the township or through the vendor?
No, we're actually working on a little disclosure. We worked with the prosecutor's office, and once the person submits their payment on our website, it's a pop-up box that says, by approving this, you assume total ownership of this,
Okay.
and any faults or any materials is yours to take care of. So, yeah, I'm just paraphrasing what that
Okay.
disclosure says. So the maintenance of that will go to the owner of the can. So, but yes, there is a warranty. They warranty those for that amount of time.
So the owner of the can would contact the vendor?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, anything else? What's the timeline on this again, Paul?
I think there's a couple month lead time to produce these, plus the EPA wants to approve the side stamp, and there's a sample what that would look. But after we receive the EPA's okay, we're gonna put the order in rather quick. But it'd be about 60 days before we could start rolling out the cards.
No pun
60
intended.
days. Okay, so we're talking December, January?
Oh, no, probably be, no, well, we're in September.
Yeah,
Yeah, around December, January.
okay, all right. Okay, anything else? Roll call.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes.
Mr. Gephardt?
Yes. Motion carries. Anything else, Paul?
That's all I have.
All right, very good. That's good to see we're moving along on that. Joe, zoning?
Good evening, trustees. I have a couple items on your agenda this evening. Number one, if you recall, at your last meeting in August, you had passed a resolution to start the public hearing notification process about the removal of the BZA alternate member, Michael Mayhew. After you made that resolution, we sent out the notice that we were required by law to send to him. We sent it to the address we had on file for him. Turns out he actually moved out of the township and ended up getting delivered somewhere in the northern part of the state. And he, once he received it, he actually did reach out, email, he apologized. He hasn't been in contact with us, but he did inform me he has moved out of the township along with his wife, who's also on the finance committee. So we don't need to have the public hearing for the removal because on August 23rd, he gave me his resignation. And then on August 26th, he confirmed his wife's moved with him. So she'll need to resign from the finance committee effective as of that date. So I think this evening, looking for two motions, one to accept the resignation of Mr. Mayhew from the BZA, and the other to accept the resignation of Mrs. Mayhew from the Finance Committee.
Okay, this time I'll move to accept the resignation of Board of Zoning Appeals alternate member Michael Mayhew. Is there a second?
Second?
Discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Goodman? Yes. Ms. Vaughn?
Yes.
Mr. Gephardt?
Yes, motion carries. I'll move to accept the resignation of Finance Advisory Committee member Lisa Mayhew. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Goodman? Yes. Ms. Vaughn?
Yes.
Mr. Gephardt?
Yes, motion carries. Okay,
Second item on your agenda is continued discussion of the Hoover Watershed Overlay District. As you probably all recall, we met in a special meeting last week or a couple weeks ago, had some good discussion on it. I was able to clarify some things for you, but I think we determined we were going to continue it this evening to see if there was any additional things the board wanted to ask me or discuss. And also, I think the board mentioned opening the floor to any public comment. Before I turn the microphone over for that, if you do initiate something tonight, I was counting days on the calendar to see if we could meet the ORC requirements. I think we just fall into it. The zoning commission meeting is a day later than usual because of the holiday, Columbus Day in October, but I think it's exactly 40 days if you count today as day 0 and tomorrow is day 1 from that. That said, even if we were off by a day or two, since we're the applicant, there's not as much concern about a due process issue, and I'm sure a day, even if we miscount it, isn't going to make or break this particular proceeding. So just advising you of that before I step over and see if there's any comments. I'll step to the side here.
all right. Are there any other comments? And again, Joe, the action tonight is simply to basically transition this proposal, which it is a proposal, to the zoning commission. At that time, the zoning commission will take it up as any other zoning application, go through the process. There'll be public hearings, public comment. They will make a recommendation back to the trustees, at which time the trustees will either vote it yes, vote it no, and go from there.
Correct.
Is that
My
correct?
office,
I mean, it's pretty
yeah, my office
simplistic,
treats it just like a application we'd get from a developer for a rezoning.
Yeah.
We treat it the exact same way.
So we're
Correct.
not putting anything into effect tonight.
Absolutely correct.
Right.
Other than just telling the zoning commission, we want you to look at this within 40 days.
Right. Okay. Open it up for discussion. Any other comments?
The trustees, just a couple things. Trustee Goodman had asked the last time we met that you add something about curbside pickup, and I didn't see that. Is it in there?
It's in there. It's under the definitions, and it actually just, I think, added a line to it if I, pretty
Okay.
clearly and said,
I created a definition for drive-through facilities,
Yeah.
but then I
Right.
built in an exemption that, like, carry out incidental carryout
Okay,
would not qualify.
got it. All right, thank you.
I didn't have anything, thank you.
Yeah, I don't either at this point. So at this time, it's rather lengthy, but I will go through it.
Mr. Gephardt, I do believe you have one public.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we were actually going to allow public comment on the particular issue. So come on forward. Name and address.
Bill Bird, 8383 West Shore Drive. I'll try to keep this short. These are issues that are kind of like specific, but I'm trying to get them on record so I don't have to attend a 6-hour zoning commission meeting. One of the issues here at the very beginning, it says that they're proposing a net density of 1.65 with conservation standards, and it's because of Vinmar Farms as being the most dense PRD in that area. And my question would be is why do we want to base the density on the most dense plan? I mean, that's one, these are rhetorical questions. They don't need to be answered. We can do that some other time. But my question is, why do we want to base it on that dense? Number one. Number two is I believe the 1.65 number with Vinmar was established through a divergence. And a divergence is supposed to indicate something unique to the specific property. So I don't see why we'd want to spread that 1.65 all over this conservation. It doesn't make sense. If it was unique, then it's unique. I think the density back then was 0.75, so it must have been a divergence, but I can't verify that because it's not available on the website. Another question is, why even permit non-conservation standards in this HUD? I mean, this is supposed to be a conservation overlay, then why are we allowing non-conservation developments? It doesn't make any sense to me. So if you would just eliminate the non-conservation, we would be talking about one density number, not two. And I would think that the more realistic density number would be 1.35. There was actually a general consensus in this township at one point in time before tempers flared. If you look at the Nook, the Nest, Vinmar 1, Vinmar Village, Vinmar 4, 5, and 6, all of those developments would be less than 1.35. So there's no reason to all of a sudden bring this 1.65 aberration into this new thing that we're creating. I actually think this what you're doing here is great, but I'm just trying to make sure it goes in a proper direction. That's one issue. That's the density issue, and I don't want to get into density stuff. The other thing that I would recommend is that you put the phrase scenic beauty in there as many times as you can. It appears in your little paragraph, section 70101A, but it doesn't appear in the overall description of what we're trying to do here. I mean, I know these developers are going to come in with these pervious and permeable asphalts, and they're going to say, oh, it's going to improve runoff, reduce erosion, it's the newest, greatest thing in the world, and their shingles are going to filtrate all this. I mean, they're going to have all these inventions of how great this thing is that they're going to create. But you're not going to be able to tell me that it's scenically beautiful. So no matter what they invent, you know, permeable pavements or shingles that are making water clear, if it doesn't look nice, then we don't want it there. That is to me, what this is about. So with that being in mind, the scenic beauty is what's not addressed in this present form is increasing these condo building envelope dimensions that are given in 90901 and 90902. I don't know where those envelopes come from. No one else has them, but that's where these hamster houses, these stalogs are being created. This is a little postage stamp thing, and they're putting houses in there. And I think those dimensions should be doubled or tripled for this HUD that we're talking about. In addition, I think there should be an increase in dimensions between the condominiums, between adjacent structures. Right now, it's 11 feet. To me, that would be a fire thing to me. I don't know why that's in there. You can't get vehicles through there. I don't know how you keep fires from jumping one to the other. And it's definitely not scenic beauty. I mean, that is what's creating these little stalogs. And I would also recommend that you increase the dimensions from adjacent, well, that's the adjacent structures. Yeah, that's the current 11 foot. If you go to Orange Township, they're 25 foot, and I don't want to be like Orange Township, but I don't want to be worse than Orange Township. And I don't know why all of a sudden we got these little things happening here. And yes, there's only 10 or 15% of our township left, but I don't want 10 or 15% of it to look like the last couple of developments that come. We don't need that. We really don't. That's nothing beautiful about that. Then there's also minimum dimensions from right-of-ways. Currently, it's 25 feet. And what that's doing is it's pushing these houses right up on the roads. And so therefore, you drive down there, and again, you get this Stalag feeling. If you want to actually make this an environmental, scenically pretty development thing here, you got to push those things back. You got to get more greenery and less black asphalt. And so I think if you can do all this in around this area, it seems to me like that is in tune with what the initial paragraph was, with why we're doing this. And then finally, there's a list of all the permitted uses there, and I'm not sure that one of them is a single-family, zero-lot line unit. That doesn't sound scenic to me. Attached twin singles, that doesn't sound scenic to me. Maybe you can make them scenic. Townhouses, what is the definition of a townhouse? Put the definition of a townhouse in the actual verbiage, because I don't know what a townhouse is, and I'm sure the developer's going to bend that thing as wide as he can to get that, whatever it is he's trying to push into this area. And then common wall, single-family attached dwellings, is that apartments, or is that like apartment buildings that are condos? I mean, that to me, common wall, single-family attached dwellings sounds like a 20 or 30 unit building sitting right there on the reservoir, and there's nothing scenic about that. So I'm wondering if we ought to review this permitted use thing and maybe restrict some of the uses in this HUD, that's all. And then some of the other, just general, since I live on that reservoir, the Columbus gets kind of nasty with you about what you plant around there. I mean, I have stuff growing wild, and they said, did you plant that? And if I did, I was going to get in trouble, but it was natural. But I mean, they are very in tune with what they want planted out there, and I think they should be involved in this. And same thing with erosion setbacks. There is a line in there that's not, they did when they put those floodgates on that reservoir, they did a study, and they said in 50 years, this is where the erosion line is, and you can't build beyond that. So some of these setbacks that you're talking about with a water line or a property line or whatever, there's another line, it's the erosion line, and you can actually build beyond that, but then good luck trying to sell that property because the banks won't give you any money for that. But I mean, there's a lot of other issues with that lake that I think you really got to get the city of Columbus involved in some of these zoning meetings maybe. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill. And Bill, just, Joe has reached out, and the City of Columbus Watershed Department does have a copy of this, and we have asked them for their input, so appreciate that. Okay. I'll go ahead and, unless there's any other comments, I'll go ahead and we can have that. Move to adopt the resolution initiating amendments to the Genoa Township zoning resolution and official zoning map as presented in draft materials dated August 27th, 2021. Such amendments include, but are not necessarily limited to, the creation of the Hoover Watershed Overlay Zoning District. This motion is initiated to incorporate the following edits as of August 27th, 2021. I believe those edits have been made in the document. Any edits development and zoning staff identify as being necessary to provide for proper spelling, grammar, punctuation, and/or formatting. This motion is also incorporate an official exhibit of said amendments and presented list of parcels to be included within the proposed Hoover Watershed Overlay District titled Parcels Within Hoover Reservoir Watershed, Genoa Township, Ohio, dated August 23rd, 2021. For the purpose of clarification, this exhibit shall be incorporated and utilized for informational and archival purposes only. It is not intended to be considered for inclusion within the zoning resolution. Subsequently, the subject amendments, including the aforementioned edits and associated exhibits, shall be redated September 2nd, 2021, and officially known as ZC Case Number 2021-04, Zoning Text and Map Amendment. The initiated amendments and associated exhibits shall be forwarded by the Zoning and Development and Zoning staff to the Genoa Township Zoning Commission and the Delaware County Regional Planning Commission for review and recommendation in accordance with and pursuant to the requirements of the Ohio Revised Code and the Genoa Township Zoning Resolution. Is there a second?
Second?
Seconded. Any further discussion?
I have just one more comment. During our last meeting, I talked about if this is truly to preserve the area around the Hoover, that we should look at preserving the natural state of some of the land. And I think Mr. Byrd mentioned also the first paragraph. So I just kind of want to emphasize before this goes to the zoning commission that in the first paragraph, it does talk about the purpose of this being to conserve and protect these unique and critical resources to the greatest extent possible. So I think whatever decisions are made before it gets back to us, that should be high priority.
Yeah. And I think that was, I mean, again, this is not a new idea.
Right.
This was presented to the zoning commission and was dealt with by the zoning commission in 2018, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, thereabouts, yeah.
Yeah, and it was decided at that time not to take any action on it, but there were items that were included in a revision of the zoning resolution that addressed some of the concerns that we're trying to continue to address with Hoover, but also just in other improvements to the zoning to try to expand open space, buffers, setback, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So I agree. I think that is an objective of this, and we'll see what they want to do this time around.
Yep.
So, all right.
Perfect.
Anything else? Roll call.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn? Yes. Mr. Gephardt?
Yes, motion carries. Okay,
Nothing else for you this evening?
nothing else? All right, thank you, Joe.
Something for me.
Please, Russ, you have a couple more items, I believe?
Sir, just a few items for the board. We have a resignation request from Jeff Martin with the Citizens Police Advisory Committee. Before I ask for the board to accept that, I would like to say a few words about Jeff. Jeff has had tremendous support for both the police department and the community. He has been a great support to us and in our service to the community. We're sorry to see him go. We're obviously going to miss him. He was just a great help to both that committee and the community and the police department. So I want to thank Jeff for his service. We're very sad to see him go. And with that, I regretfully request the board accept the resignation of Jeff Martin from the Citizens Police Advisory Committee.
All right. I will move to accept the resignation of the Citizens Police Advisory Committee member Jeff Martin. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded. I would echo Deputy Chief's sentiments. Jeff's been a longtime friend and acquaintance and very active in the township, not only with the Police Advisory Committee and the police, but just in other things. And we wish him and Sherry, his wife, all the best, and hopefully they'll get re-engaged when the time is right. So,
Absolutely.
all right. Roll call.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes.
Mr. Gephardt?
Yes, motion carries.
Next, I have a supplemental appropriation. I would request the board approval for a supplemental appropriation from the Police Contingency Fund of $50,000 to improvement of sites.
I'll move to approve the following supplemental appropriation from account number 2191930930000 in the amount of $50,000 to the account number 2191760373000 in the amount of $50,000. Is there a second?
Second?
Discussion, roll call.
Ms. Goodman? Yes. Ms. Vaughn? Yes. Mr. Gephardt?
Yes, motion carries.
As part of that request, I would then request a blanket purchase order certificate for $50,000 for asphalt and parking lot repairs at the police department, as well as the previously approved landscaping for the building.
Okay, I'll move to approve the blanket purchase order in the amount of $50,000 for asphalt and parking lot repairs at the new police station to include previously approved landscaping. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? What kind of repairs are we talking about?
So the asphalt portion of our parking lot that is behind the carport area that you're familiar with is starting to crack from underneath. Unfortunately, the base, and Bob can probably speak to this better than I can, the base got water into it, and that water, I believe it rose, did it not, Bob, up through the asphalt, and is starting to actually crack that asphalt throughout the parking lot. So before we got to winter time and it ruined the entire parking lot, the decision was made, hey, we need to probably repair this quickly. So Bob and his crew are planning on starting those repairs next week, but we do have to rip that asphalt up, repair what we need to repair in the base, lay down some drainage to push that water out, and then re-asphalt that area. So
Did we do that initial work, or was that done?
it was done by our maintenance department.
And we followed the specifications of the engineers that drew out the plans on that. There's area drains around the area, where there's curtain drain around the facility, and this is an area that they didn't have any underground pipes beside the gutter pipes that were down there. But what happened is that, we added several feet of stone to that area, and somehow the water has percolated up. We had the materials tested in the asphalt, thinking that maybe it was a faulty batch, but according to the materials that were tested, they came back, everything was within specifications. So that's the only solution, is there's water percolating up through the back parking lot area.
So are we going to have this elsewhere, do we think, or is this just an isolated?
I'll probably pass that question to Bob.
There's a couple more areas out towards the front that I see water come up. It has not cracked the pavement or displaced the pavement yet. It's something you can't predict. You just have to keep watching it. But them areas out front are considerably smaller areas.
Any of that have to do with the grading?
No,
Forcing the water back towards that, or?
What we're gonna do is take out the bad section. I'm gonna put under drain under it and run it out to the storm sewer we ran. So that if any water percolates up, it's gonna find the trench with the pipe in it, and it's gonna get in that feeder and go out to the main drain.
It just seems like, it's been less than a year and we already have asphalt problems, is my main concern. And I mean, I understand things happen. but-
We had it was proof rolled, and at the time that we had it proof rolled, we got 96% compaction. That's above what normal getting is, around 92.
Yeah.
And we got 96, so we didn't think there was anything gonna move.
Problem. Okay.
For a functionality standpoint of the station itself, the section that's going to be taken out, will it be small enough that you can get around it to get to the Sally Port, or is it going to be crossing that whole section?
At first, yes, while they're doing some of the gravel work. When the asphalt work's done, no. That's okay. We'll find a way to work around that. We've already came up with a solution to deal with that. As far as you may or may not know, our cruisers have to hit the Wi-Fi signal to be able to upload video that we may need for public records requests and those types of things. So we have found a way to be able to do that, and we have an alternate way to transport prisoners while that asphalt is taking place.
Good, thank you.
Yes.
And I don't mean to dwell on this, but, I will. The area to the north, I mean, we know that pond's back there, that's been a wet area. Obviously, we still maybe have some water issues. Has anything been done, or are we planning on any, with all this rain we've been having, have we noticed any water that is coming into the parking lot or towards the building as opposed to over to the west where we have the retention pond, or does that all seem to be working okay?
There's no large accumulations of water. So the parking lot itself, as far as ponding and that type of water goes, is okay. We haven't seen any problems in that regard. It just appears to be the water that's getting underneath there that's then coming up and hurting the asphalt. So as far as water on the surface, it seems to be that the grading and the way we built the parking lot is working to push that water where it needs to go, but for whatever reason, from underneath, that water is still coming up.
Okay. I'd just be more concerned about water coming closer to the building and getting into the foundation and causing issues.
From the pond that you're talking about, we did run 6-inch under drain around the outside of that before the parking lot. So that water from the pond is getting in that trench and getting in that pipe and going to the storm sewer.
Okay, very good. All right, roll call.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes.
Mr. Gephardt?
Yes. All right,
One other item?
Yeah.
Many, many years ago, and I couldn't even tell you how many, I've been a long time and I don't recall it. We set an authorized staffing level for our police department of 28 full-time police officers. Thanks to Sergeant Demon, who was here earlier, and all of our folks that have helped with recruiting and hiring, we are back to that staffing level with the hiring of Brandon this evening. The issue is, and what I wanted to discuss and request from you folks this evening, is we did have a discussion about adding 2 additional officers throughout this levy cycle at different times. What I would like to do this evening is request your approval to be able to add those at any time moving forward from this point throughout the levy cycle. The chief had spoke about adding an officer in 2023 and maybe an officer in 2024 or 2025. However, we are aware already that we have 1 retirement that is upcoming, probably in April of next year. And we really don't want to get in the position that we've been in for the last probably 8 years, where we're just understaffed for such a long period of time. Folks are working long hours of overtime. So we would like to get ahead of it, so to speak. So I'm requesting the board to approve us to be able to add or increase our authorized staffing to 30 full-time officers. And of course, when we hire someone, we'll bring it in front of the board before that occurs. But it will definitely help us get ahead of the game, so to speak, with being able to hire an additional 2 as we move forward. So that's my request this evening for the board to approve our authorized staffing to increase to 30.
Okay, and that was, I do remember that as a discussion. So, I mean, this is something that we had planned to do as part of the levy going forward. It's just a matter we hadn't. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and make a motion then to authorize 2 additional full-time positions for a total of 30 full-time police positions anytime during the current levy cycle, with all hiring continued to be approved by the trustees. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Goodman? Yes. Ms. Vaughn? Yes. Mr. Gephardt?
Yes.
That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, Chief, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Bob?
The first item is to hire Aaron Early as a Building and Ground Tech 1 at $20.50.
Okay, I will move to approve the hiring of Aaron Early as a Buildings and Grounds Technician 1 at an hourly rate of $20.50, effective September 8th, 2021. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Is this a new or replacement?
This is a replacement for the one that left last month.
Okay. Roll call.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn? Yes. Mr. Gephardt?
Yes, motion carries.
Next item is approve a permanent appropriation amendment to the capital outlay in the street department.
All right, I will move to approve the 2021 permanent appropriation amendment for the Road and Bridge Fund capital outlay from $1,547,000 to $1,602,000. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes.
Mr. Gephardt?
Yes, motion carries.
And then we're gonna do the then and now purchase orders. The money that you just amended the public capital outlay is for Mid-Ohio and McCoy paving. That is what I was short on J. Cox Road. And the other 3 are curb and gutter work down in the TIF, out of the TIF fund
Okay.
on Spring Run.
All right, thanks for the clarification on that. I will move to approve the following then and now purchase orders: $35,904.84 from Mid-Ohio Paving for Road and Bridge Fund, $17,400 McCoy Paving Road and Bridge Fund, $16,000 McCoy Paving the TIF Fund, $15,000 McCoy Paving TIF Fund, and $18,000 McCoy Paving TIF Fund. Any discussion? Roll call.
We need a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Second.
It's your turn.
Yeah, second.
I wasn't sure if he was saying second.
Second.
wanted to
I thought I
second.
seconded it myself.
Me
I'm sorry.
too, that's-
Roll call.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes.
Mr. Gephardt?
Yes, motion carries. All right. Getting
Item,
late.
the next item is a blanket PO out of,
Tiff.
out of the TIF. I couldn't figure it. 35,000 for improvements on Maxtown and Spring Run. I just got 2 more calls today. We're still dealing with concrete curb and gutters that are busted up and got big holes in it on Spring Run that I still got to repair. That's why the blanket PO. I already had some, but I got some more.
Okay, I'll move to approve the blanket purchase order in the amount of $35,000 for road improvements on Maxtown and Spring Run roads. Is there a second?
Second?
Discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes.
Mr. Gephardt?
Yes, motion carries.
The next item is the Mcnamara Park barn conceptual drawings. It's in your packet. I wanted to get it in front of the trustees to hear their comments. We get $3,000 we paid for this company to render us drawings and stuff. We get 2 revisions more. So we want to get everything. And at the Parks Advisory Board last night, they talked about it too. They gave a lot of ideas. And I'll have Molly, she wrote them all down. I'll have her come up and tell you what they said. Connie was there too, she could tell. And then if you have any comments, we'll take them down before we go back to the people and tell them we'd like to include it.
Okay, Molly, you have comments?
So the committee last night, we took a look at the conceptual drawings that, like Bob said, you have in front of you. Just some clarifications about the drawings. If you look at the drawing that has all the colored pictures across the bottom, the one in the middle is because of the depth perception in the drawing, it's a little deceptive because it looks like there's doors in underneath that lean-to, but actually those doors are on the other side of the barn. From the way that we told the construction company how we wanted it, but you can't really tell that from this drawing, but just know that that was what the request was. So the lean-to is the west side of the barn. The doors that you're seeing are actually on the east wall of the barn. Some of the things that came through last night, the doors in the drawings, they would appear that they are operational doors, and we would actually, there was discussion about making them faux doors, so having them open so that that east side is an opening and it looks like there's doors, but they're fixed. They don't actually close. That was important to some of us because we didn't want the pinch point of having doors and having fingers get caught in them, but we wanted the aesthetic of having the doors, but just make them look like they're open. There was also talk about making the opening wider, so where the faux doors would be affixed, the space would just be a wider space. The other benefit to that is wind flow. A lot of the winds come from the west and it just creates that tunnel. So we want that wind to flow through the barn rather than hitting that wall on the east side and then causing like an umbrella effect with the roof.
If you don't mind taking questions.
No, not at all.
Okay, so I guess that you answered, I think, a question, but I'm still not clear on the doors. If the doors aren't going to open on the east side.
They are open.
They are
They're
open.
permanently open.
permanently open.
Yeah.
So you can't shut them. It'll just be a permanent entrance.
There was a discussion last night, one of the notes, like some of us feel, make them faux doors, like they're fake and they're permanently open. Another suggestion was let them open and close and let them like be lockable. And if somebody rented the building and wanted to leave them open, they could leave them open or they could remain closed. So, go ahead, Connie.
The open doors would be just like if you took a door and nailed it on the wall as opposed to, you know, painting it on or opening and closing. One of the concerns that was expressed about having them lockable is staffing. Who's going to go out there and lock them and unlock them and when, et cetera. So, but I'm sorry, Molly.
No, you're fine. Another point that was made last night is lighting. So by having the completely open west side under the lean-to and then having the opening on the east side, would that allow for enough lighting in the building? And then there was talk of the potential of fiberglass panels, possibly either in the walls or in the roof, some of the roof, not the whole roof, obviously is fiberglass, to allow more light penetration into the building. There was a question of the actual size of the building. Our current barn is 24 feet by 40 feet, and the shed that's affixed to the west side is an additional 14 feet. So the whole footprint of that barn is 38 by 40. The footprint of this drawing is 30 by 30, and that includes the lean-to on the side. So that brought up a question of, is this too small? Is this gonna look more like a shed versus an actual replica of our barn, which is our goal, is to have a replica, not a shed. The height, the tallest peak of the gambrel roof is, we think we figured out 17 feet. We don't have an actual height on our current barn, but we're kind of estimating it to be about 30 feet. So this is shorter, let alone that the footprint is smaller. So that was another question of, would we want a revision that made the replica barn larger? The point was also made about some simulated like hayloft doors to make it look like, again, they would be faux, they would just be a look, not an actual functioning door, possibly in one of the peaks that would, for the haymow. We also talked about simulated like half doors or horse doors that would be on the, potentially on the ends on the north and south side. Just again, to give it more of that barn aesthetic look. There was talk of a cupola and a weather vane. I guess you could say we were kind of going for the all-out, what would be the highest wish list to start as a pricing point, get prices for all of these items on the wish list, and then potentially review that price list and then start paring it down. So that was one of the wishes, was the cupola and the weather vane. And then finally, because this is a 30 by 30, the potential of maybe not making it necessarily a square barn, but if we increase the size, making it more of a rectangle, that might look a little less like a shed and a little bit more like a barn. I mean, our current barn is 38 by 40 in the full footprint, so it's only a difference of 2 feet. But, you know, possibly doing like, you know, 35 by 40 or something in a replica. That's the biggest part of the feedback that we got last night. There was discussion about what of the old barn, if we were to take it down, if it was to be taken down, would we want to keep? The emblem that is on the north side of the barn that we put in during the Bicentennial, we've talked about trying to keep that. It's actually painted over a hay door that actually drops down completely vertically through a pulley system in the haymow. That would be kind of a neat thing to keep that, if we could maybe keep that with the emblem and then mount it on the inside of the barn. and then maybe have signs that note to the hay door that came off of the original barn. The other thing that is in the original barn that we would like to preserve is the hay trolley is all up in the hay mow. So that could all be pulled out and put into a replica barn that could give it the historical feel that our original barn has. Another question kind of leading into that came up was, what would we want, else would we want to preserve out of the old barn to make use of in the new barn? And there was a comment about if we were going to pay somebody to come, or if they were going to pay us, if we were to hire somebody that would pay us to come and take it down, that they would be doing that with the hope of the potential of some lumber out of it that would be historical, and they would potentially want to keep it. So how much should we actually strip from it, given that? But then there was also talk of if somebody were just willing to come and take it down, even because some places I think will, from what I understand, will pay you to come and take it down and haul it away. There was talk of even if somebody didn't pay us for them to come and take it down and they took it away, there's a gift in that as well. Did I miss anything?
No, I don't think so.
Got all my notes.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Any
Was there
comments?
discussion of what is the vision of using this?
We would like to make it more of a shelter. Like right now, the current barn is really not useful. It's not safe. It's sealed up. We would like to see this be used as a park shelter, but we want to preserve the barn part of it, that look, the historical rural image of the barn. But we want it to be a useful space, so making it a park shelter. So I guess in my mind, I kind of think, looks like a barn, but it's really a park shelter. But you kind of got to make it a little opened up so it's more like a park shelter too. So it's kind of a 50-50 hybrid.
And will there be electricity in here? Because you talked about lighting.
I don't think I don't know that we've really gotten that far.
We never got that
Okay.
far yet.
I mean, there's light at the restroom, I think. But the park closes at dark. So it wouldn't be that it would be something that there would be like lights inside that you could actually rent it after dark. You'd still have to be out.
And would you have a concrete or dirt floor?
It'd be a concrete
Concrete?
pad
Because it's dirt now, isn't it? Yeah, okay,
with like a block foundation.
okay.
The goal was not to make it like Westerville's Everall Barn, to have rentals, et cetera. It was more to make it like Mcnamara, scaled down, like Freeman, so that you could have a family reunion there or something. I do think that the barn has electric in it, or did have at one point.
Did.
Yes, I don't know if you could find that wire, make it live if you chose to.
No, you can't right now.
No, okay. But,
And does anybody know the dimensions of the shelter at Mcnamara so we can compare size?
I do not.
Is this going to be smaller, bigger? Just kind of,
I would say it's, the shelter house is bigger than the barn.
How big is this room? We just did the.
How big is the barn?
room?
I mean, it's probably close to 30.
We've got drawings of McNamara over in admin offices, don't we?
So you're an architect, what's the dimensions? 30 feet? That's what I would guess, yeah. So it's probably similar to this.
What do you think the shelter house in McNamara?
It's kind of an odd shape because it's got that piece that comes off of it.
It's not that wide. It's probably only about 24 wide, but I bet it's at least 30 foot long.
one of the things too with McNamara being our premier park, we all know how hard it is to get a rental at the current facility. This would give us twice the space in McNamara, far enough away that they would each have their own parking lot and surrounding area.
So what's the plan? Why are we talking about this tonight? What is the next step, I guess?
We just know it's gonna take time to get it through the process and get it through the discussion, so we just wanna get that discussion happening now. We know that decisions aren't gonna be made immediately, and that's not really what we're looking for. We just wanna keep the ball rolling as far as the discussion goes, the current barn, we've gotten estimates to repair it, and they exceed the initial estimate that we got for a replica.
Right.
And this, I think, fits within that initial budget estimate that we got as a replica. Making changes to this would probably change that a little bit. Even if they became somewhat equal, we still would have an old structure that could, over time, be more costly as far as maintenance goes versus just biting the bullet and building a replica, not just a vanilla shelter, an actual replica that's just like what we already have. I think we probably would like to proceed with some pricing for additional, the wish list, so that then we can start to have discussions about how to pare it down, what our budget might be.
I was gonna say, to be quite honest, it's just to get something to keep the ball rolling, like she said, because we have to face the fact, we ain't gonna do anything with it for a year or 2 years or 3 years because there's not that much money to do it. But we would like to have it in place so that when we do have money in the fund and if the levy passes again, maybe it's that year, maybe it's the last year of this levy, but it's not right now.
I mean, the thought is, if you're going this far, to basically build a shelter, how much more would it be to go the next step? I'm not saying the Everett barn necessarily. I mean, I've been in the Everett barn, it's nice, but it's not fancy. Is there a need for a facility that could be rented out, that could be enclosed, about this size, could be used for evening things? Yeah, there's gonna have to be, maintenance or management.
Staffing.
Yeah, but what's the next level? I mean, here's this level, which is basically a shelter. Is there, how much more would it take to make it a multi-purpose, year-round, or at least nine months out of the year type of facility? I mean, we don't have anything like that other than the hall, and I think we've been trying to get away from encouraging things in the hall. So would that be another option to look at? I'm not saying it should be or shouldn't be. I'm just saying what would it take from where you are right now to get to that level?
Don't forget.
Basic.
Don't forget also, you will have another structure over at Mcnamara with the restored Township Hall building. So maybe that would foot the bill for, it's a smaller site, it's smaller internal, but it will be a 4-sided enclosed structure that.
Well, and I think you saw it too, the one schoolhouse building, the Perfect School, that the Parks, Preservation Parks has done. I mean, I think we ought to look at that and see what they've done. And is that something, a concept that we could look at for the Township Hall?
Yeah, that could be a meeting room or something for families.
Again, I'm not saying we should, but it's an option to look at. We're gonna have to do something with that building instead of just moving it from point A to point B and letting it deteriorate over there, like the barn. So if we're gonna move it, then let's do something with it, make it functional to some level, in my opinion.
I would like to investigate the dimensions of the current shelter, Mcnamara, and then this size. What do we need? Maybe it's time to assess what we have and what is needed. Do we need a larger structure? Do we need a smaller structure? Or do we need a structure the same size as a lot of these shelters that we currently have?
I don't know if this helps with your, where your thought is going, but essentially to go up from this, because this is smaller than, so if you envision the current barn, this is smaller, and we've already talked about possibly bumping it up to almost equal to the current barn. So if that, comparing it to the shelter, but versus having that visual of, well, this is the size of the current barn, of seeing that size in your mind's eye.
But my question is, what do we need?
Yes, I
You know,
understand that.
do we need, would this size be good? Or would it be better to go bigger? I don't know. But I think it's a valid question to investigate.
I would agree. I think the usability is definitely something we need to look at. Just to build a replica of the barn, I'm not sure I'm there. It's got to have some functionality, in my opinion. And I think we've addressed that somewhat in at least a shelter. So, you know, I think we do need to be thinking about size, practicality, usability. And what's the functionality of it?
You're kind of, I think I hear you saying, like the things we talked about 10 years ago about having an all-season.
Yeah. Okay. So no action is really necessary
No,
tonight, just
no,
keep
it's
the
just-
ball rolling.
Just talking,
Okay.
and so you see it.
We just wanted to
No,
have a
appreciate it.
visual. We felt like having a conversation around what it could be wasn't really productive. So having a more of a visual would help with the conversation and keep it moving.
Now, Bob, you had mentioned, I think we've spent, what, a couple $1,000s to get some renditions done?
Yeah.
Okay, and we still have, these can be changed?
Yeah.
We have a
Twice
couple more.
more.
Are these going to, I mean, they're probably not gonna be build design? I mean, you're
No,
not gonna be able to
no.
build off those designs?
No.
These are just
No.
renditions, and here's
Yep.
kind of what they would
Yep.
look like. So that would be the next step, architectural drawings and stuff along that
They
line.
would do an actual blueprint.
Yeah, okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
Bob?
The last item is to amend the cemetery permanent appropriations.
Where are we at here? Okay, move to approve the 2021 permanent appropriation amendment for the cemetery fund capital outlay from $5,500 to $10,500. Is there a second?
Second.
Second? Discussion? Bob, what are we doing here?
This is the gentleman that Mike Maison gave $1,000 because the sign at Burnside Cemetery is deteriorating. The sign I got in your packets that Leslie came up with, that is a sign that we're gonna buy, but we're gonna build the foundation and everything ourselves. So it's to buy that sign. I already have 5,000 in the budget that I got it sitting there and don't have anything earmarked. So the additional is to make that money to buy that sign.
Okay. Bob, we have 3 cemeteries?
4.
4 basically? Okay. I'm just thinking down the road, I mean, I believe they all have signage of some kind.
Some kind,
And-
except for maybe Yankee don't.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever seen a sign over there.
Yeah.
There's a stone. There's a stone.
Okay. And I know Red Banks, I think, is just a wooden.
Yep.
So I'm just thinking down the road, I mean, if there's a need for other signage at other cemeteries, are we gonna try to be consistent?
Yes.
So this would be something that, I mean, it's not a one-off. We
No.
could replicate this fairly easily.
This is the design we're going with, to do at all the cemeteries when we put them in.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Goodman? Yes. Ms. Vaughn? Yes. Mr. Gephardt?
Yes.
And that is all
All
that
right.
I
Bob.
have.
Purchase order. We need to do the purchase order. real quick.
purchase order.
Purchase order.
Right under the
Yeah.
appropriation.
Yep.
Move to approve?
Yep, sign com.
Order. Yep, move to approve purchase order of Signcom in the amount of $12,008 for a sign at Burnside Cemetery. Is there a second?
Second?
Discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Goodman? Yes. Ms. Vaughn? Yes. Mr. Gephardt?
Yes. Motion carries. All right, now you're done.
Yep,
All
thank
right.
you.
Thanks, Bob. All right, Joe, back to you.
Good evening, board. Only have a Couple things and a couple updates for you. I'm going to try to keep it moving. Battalion Chief Corey Weekly has been previously approved by the board to begin a course of work towards a bachelor's degree. He's going through Columbia Southern University. In that program, you also have the ability to, as you do your coursework, pick up your associate's degree on your way to your bachelor's. So I come in front of you tonight to ask for a resolution. Well, let me back up. Corey has completed the necessary required coursework. I have a sealed transcript from the university for Linda that I'll turn in to her. So he has completed the equivalency of his and obtained his associate's degree. So I would request a motion to approve Corey under the township policy for an educational supplement in the amount of 75 cents per hour.
Move to approve an educational supplement for Battalion Chief Corey Weekly in the amount of 75 cents per hour for an associate's degree. And this is as per contract, correct?
Per township policy.
Per township policy.
The 3 battalion chiefs are no longer in the union.
Okay.
So they fall under township policy.
All right, very good. As per township policy. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn? Yes. Mr. Gephardt?
Yes. Motion carries.
Okay, the next item I have for you, you'll see a request for a resolution, what we call it, an amendment, Donna? An amendment to the permanent appropriation out of the EMS fund to the capital outlay. And we're asking for an increase from $280,850 to $315,850.
Okay, I'll move to approve the 2021 permanent appropriation amendment for EMS fund capital outlay from $280,850 to $315,850. Is there a second?
Second?
Discussion?
Yes.
Explain, please.
Yeah.
This was, we originally had the purchase order on the agenda, and we had to change it at the last minute. We've been waiting for months to get quotes back on the new medic that I talked to you all about last year. And it looks like maybe we're starting to see some light at the end of that tunnel. They wouldn't even give us quotes because they didn't know what chassis were gonna cost. They're starting to dole out quotes. And so we received a quote from Penn Carrots state bid, but it's more than what we thought it was gonna be. And also it's gonna, instead of it being a 2021 chassis, and you know how they build them, or 2022, this is gonna be a 2023 chassis model, which means probably gonna be manufactured early next year, and then we'll take. But what we're wanting to do is get the purchase order. The opportunity that we have, as I've expressed to you, is as soon as we have the opportunity to get in line to start building the vehicle, if we sign the agreement, we've got a couple financial bonuses that are available to us. Penn Care is willing to take in the old medic and give us a credit of $9,500, which I think is a fair number. We were guessing somewhere between 10 to 15, looking at the market. And of course, you're trying to compare apples to sometimes oranges, depending on the manufacturer, the motor that it has in it, the size chassis, et cetera. The other opportunity that we have is at the time when we sign the contract, if we make payment at the time of signing the contract, we get another $4,000 discount off the price of the vehicle. So obviously, you know, this purchase would not come out of levied funds. Obviously, this is EMS billing reimbursement funds. And, you know, that's one of the advantages that we all talked about years ago when we implemented the EMS billing, is that it pays for the trucks, pays for the supplies. I mean, it's a win-win situation for the department and for the residents.
And we currently have money, I mean, this money is sitting there right now, so we're not anticipating that.
No, we have plenty.
We're gonna have it, okay.
Yeah.
Originally, Chief appropriated $240,000 in the EMS fund motor vehicle account. The difference between what you just read in your motion was the 35,000 to make up for the increased costs.
Yeah, so we were trying to take a guess, put $240,000 in there. The quote came back at $273,100.
The new medic that we just put one online, didn't we?
That's correct. It's about
2 years?
less than 2 years. It's maybe 18 months.
Yeah, okay. So delivery of this, what are we anticipating? I mean, if we're just
I checked with
talking
Battalion.
2023.
Yeah, so I checked with Battalion Chief Johnson this evening, probably about a 12-month build process. Now, we got told that last time, and we got the truck in about 9.5 months. So they got it to us faster than what they told us, which is nice. But we're gonna see probably, 12 months is probably realistic, because everyone's waiting to build medics. We're not having this problem with fire trucks. Whatever it is about the chips, maybe it's a commercial chassis versus a custom-built chassis, I don't know the answer to that, but everyone else is in the same boat. So I just want to be ready to strike as soon as the moment they tell us that they're ready to start building, that we're in place and we're in line.
So this will give us the 2 medics that we always have.
Always have. That's correct. And the old medic, that accounts for, on a monthly basis, anywhere between taking 20 to 25% of our EMS calls, because we're that busy in the township. So it's a needed vehicle. We just know that we have a known motor issue that if we blow one more sets of turbos, we've just blown our savings on the trade-in, because we're going to eat it.
Is that trade-in guaranteed?
Yes.
I mean, the trade-ins, they're trade-ins, all right. But to go to the issue that we seem like we have had with medics is the engines. And, I mean, what kind of a warranty are we gonna, I mean, if it's been a known problem, are we just going to, I mean, instead of getting $4,000 off by, cutting a check the day we sign the contract, I'd rather have, 2-year warranty extension or something like that. I mean,
I'd have to check with the actual chassis warranty, and I can get you that answer. I'll just send it to you via email. I'll talk with Captain Downey or Chief Johnson. I would assume it's like a 3-year, $36,000. The problem is, what we found out with the older medic is that engine problem isn't found out until they get about 60 to 70,000 miles on them, and then that's when they break a turbo. So you're kind of out of luck at that point. So.
all right, any other?
Are you going with a different brand?
Same brand as the new one. It will look virtually paint scheme, it will look identical. We're making a few tweaks to doors. I mean, like minor stuff of, hey, don't let this door open if this one's open, just so they don't hit each other. But just some small things we learned when we built the newest one. So it's a good design, it works, and that way by running both of those vehicles, we keep the crews operating out of a same designed unit, which just seems to make sense.
Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought we had to, there was some, like the carts or stretchers, I guess, whatever. Yeah, we had to go to a different model because the ones we had, or is there accessories are going to be coming with this down the road that we're going to have to be looking at, or?
No, so
how's that going to
probably the biggest thing that you would look at is typically, in the past, you'd buy the truck and you'd buy it with a standard stretcher, well, the one that's now no longer allowable to be installed. So in the old medic, that was the primary medic, that was the first motorized cot system that we bought, stretcher system. So we will take that whole system out. We will have the truck built for the power to be there. And then PennCare will do the retrofit install in our building before they take the trade-in back with them. So we retain all the good accessories.
Okay.
That are, worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
So,
That's what I was going to say.
yeah, about $48,000 worth of accessories, just in that unit itself. A lot of the other things that we put on the trucks are mobile and removable. We add them on get them wired in. A lot of them are plug-in units. So we just take all the hard, well, we'll strip the truck down to bare.
Yeah.
You know, the shelves will be empty. So,
Okay.
Chief, I'm not sure I understood about the trade-in value. Does it need to be working when it gets traded in if we,
it does.
oh darn.
It's part of the stipulation, which is,
Okay.
we were under the same agreement last time,
Uh-huh.
and then the motor blew on the medic. So we lost the trade-in value.
So the worst thing is we lose the trade-in value.
Right, because you don't fix it.
Yeah, right. Well, and that's why I'm clarifying.
Yeah, not at this point. I don't think it would be smart. The last turbo repair was over $10,000
Right.
on a vehicle that we're seeing the market value about $9,500. It would just sit, and we'd probably put it on gov deals. That's what happened last time. Some guy bought it, and he was gonna make a plumbing truck out of it.
Yeah.
And go ahead, just take it off of our lot.
Right. Ghostbusters.
Thank you for clarifying that for me.
All right, roll call.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn? Yes. Mr. Gephardt?
Yes, motion carries. There you go, Joe.
Okay. And then the last thing is a resolution to approve the purchase order to Penn Care for the purchase of this vehicle for $273,100.
Move to approve the purchase order to Penn Care Incorporated in the amount of $273,100 for the purchase of a new Braun Medic. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. So, Joe, it's probably gone over my head here somewhere, but we just approved $315,000, and now we're buying it for $273,000.
Because what we did is we're adding additional monies to the total capital fund.
Okay.
There's other capital items that we've purchased.
Okay.
So that's why you see the total dollar amount change.
Okay, so that total dollar amount of $315,000 isn't just for the EMS, for the new squad?
No.
Okay, medic, all right.
No, if you remember right, like we had the opportunity, we bought the new heart monitor.
Yeah.
A couple months ago.
Okay.
That's all capital outlay.
Okay, very good. Okay. It just wasn't broken down, at least I didn't see it, or maybe I
Yeah.
forgot
It
about
looks very strange, Carl, the way it's grouped, the whole capital outlay, yeah.
Okay. We have a second discussion, roll call.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn? Yes. Mr. Gephardt?
Yes, motion carries.
And if I
Anything
can
else,
just give you all a couple updates. I think you were all aware that the 911 center was implementing and preparing to turn on a new CAD, which is computer-aided dispatch system. That system went live Tuesday morning at 9 or 9:30. About 2 o'clock that afternoon, as I think I've told you all before, the Pulse Point app went live for Delaware County. I think Carl has it. I don't know if anybody else has had to show him how to work it a little bit. That's okay.
I'm old.
So
do my grandsons.
So we had a meeting with the pre-hospital care board today, and Pulse Point has given us a bunch of stickers, and we have agreed throughout the county, we're all gonna put these on our EMS vehicles. And then as we get some more and we've asked for more, you'll probably see them on all of the apparatus. And then the other thing that we received today is these stickers that we're gonna travel throughout the township, make sure that we have an accountability of all the AEDs in all the various buildings. We had that just to make sure that it's updated and accurate. And then we're gonna put these stickers on the AEDs as long as the owner allows us. And what we're basically looking to do is to publicize the Pulse Point app. And it's got a little QR code on it that you can zap it with your camera and download the app and get it set up, okay? Two other things real quick. If you haven't seen it, we've been advertising. We're gonna partake and help out with the 9/11 memorial service up in Sunbury at the Ohio Fallen Heroes Memorial. Also, just so you're aware, I was asked by Chief Kovach of the BSTNG Fire District to be the keynote speaker this year. So there's that. And we would invite anyone to come. I think there's going to be a similar service in Westerville. I'm not sure what time that is. And then one last thing, I received an email on Tuesday, and this just may be informational. This is coming from Sheila Hiddleston at the Health District, no, Public Health Department now, we have the ability to get free COVID-19 tests and have them here within the township to use for our own people, our own first responders. Even she goes as far as we can hand them out to our residents. So if you don't have any objection to that conceptually, I'd like to find out some more information of, and they are free. This is leftover CARES funding. So it's coming through the state. And so it would just be a matter of me registering us, tell them how many test kits we want and where they get delivered to. And then, you know, I wouldn't mind that we would be the location that people would come pick them up. We've got a little bit of space in the police department where we could stock them and then just bring a handful over at a time as we need them. Maybe have the people contact us and maybe set up some sort of an email address where they can just email us and say, hey, can I come get a kit? And we would just make that happen. Does that sound okay, feasible?
I haven't used, I don't know how difficult they are to use, and
Well, these are the self kits now, and I have not laid hands on one, to be honest with you. So
Do you know if they're instant tests? Because, I mean, I have a college kid, they get tested all the time, so there's several different varieties. You don't have any
Correct.
details? Yeah.
why don't you talk to
Let me
her a
get
little
some
more,
more information,
maybe at the
and
October-
it would be okay if as I get that, I just send it out to you, so we
Yeah.
don't have to beleaguer a meeting.
And I think, once again, just the logistics, you know, I don't know how big of a demand there would be, but, you know, having people lined up for these, that would probably be a best, worst-case scenario.
Right.
But I think we have to think about distribution of those and how people go about it, and,
Right.
you know, I can't imagine there being any liability issues associated with that, but, I mean, if it's coming through the health department or the
I know
public.
Franklin County Health is delivering a lot of the free units to the library to hand out, so they are also a distributor point.
Okay.
And I'll ask Sheila also whether they're gonna get their own stockpile. So like if we order 100 and we run out, is there someone I can contact and get more for us? I'll ask that question
I mean,
also.
I would at least think we would want to discuss it for staff, especially your first responder folks.
Absolutely, and I think that conceptually, my idea was that we would order, I don't know, 100, 150, and we would maintain a reserve amount that's just for our personnel.
Okay.
Okay? That's all I had.
Thank you, Joe. A couple of announcements. Offices will be closed September 6th for Labor Day. Our next trustee meeting is scheduled for October 7th, 2021 at 6:30 PM here at the office. There is, yes.
Oh, go ahead with this. I have one thing before we move to exec session.
I'm done.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. One question for Mr. Schaefer. When we took the resignation, accepted the resignation for the BZA, we did not ask him if perhaps there should be a replacement sought.
I think there probably should be. We actually were short members, I think, the last meeting. I think we were down to maybe 4 at the last meeting. So I know we normally do the reappointments in spring, but I do think, especially headed like into the holiday season and people's schedules get even busier, we may want to see, I mean, we don't have to go through like the whole formal process like we do the annual appointments, but maybe just float something out there, say, hey, if anyone's interested, please contact us.
Because we got
But
6
up to what the
months.
board wants, but I do think we probably need to fill it sooner rather than later.
Sure. Why don't you go ahead and make the announcement?
Okay, I'll work with Leslie and put something out.
I mean, it sounds like we may, Paul, maybe having us meet in October, other than our trustee meeting. Maybe we could do if we're looking at interviews, maybe combine something like that, mid-October.
Sure, and you're not obligated to interview.
Yeah.
That'd be totally up to your purview. And it's an alternate position, not a
Okay.
full position.
that
But yeah, I'll work
good
with
with
Leslie and get something out. Is there like a specific deadline you want stuff by, or should we just sort of leave it open-ended?
I think that's kind of your call. I mean,
Okay.
you know, it's September 2nd.
Sure.
Give them 3 weeks maybe.
Okay.
I wouldn't drag it out too long, so we have it. We can move earlier in October than later.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Will do. Thanks.
All right, good,
Thank
good,
you.
good point, Connie, thanks. I'm going to move to adjourn into executive session at 8:19 PM to consider the employment compensation dismissal of a public employee. Is there a second?
Second?
Made and seconded, discussion, roll call.
Yes.
Yes, motion carries. Stand adjourned at 8:20 in executive session. Go. This time I will move to return from executive session to the regular trustee meeting. The time is 9:06 PM. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded, discussion, roll call?
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn? Mr. Gebhardt?
Yes, motion carries. We are now in regular session. We do have one item of business. I will move to promote Shad Smith to a Tech 2 position at a rate of $27.50 per hour. Is there a second?
Second,
Second.
and that is effective when?
Effective next pay period. Okay,
I second that amended motion.
okay, very good. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn? Mr. Gebhardt?
Yes, motion carries. Being no other business, I will move to adjourn this meeting at 9:06 PM. Is there a second?
Second.
Second discussion, roll call?
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes.
Mr. Gebhardt?
Yes, motion carries. We stand adjourned at 9:06 PM.